figure out it was vinyl wrap, we got to within a foot, and you start to see the pixelation. So there was some concerns earlier about like how, you know, the fidelity of vinyl wrap versus actual painting on a utility box, and that seemed to have solved the problem. I don't know, did I bring this up last time driving through outside of Boston? Like every neighborhood had a utility box with a vinyl wrap on it that said what neighborhood it was. It was, you know, it was an interesting wayfinding thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. The only other thing I think Councilmember Lepari-Shu was going to bring up was a funding budget. She said that, oh look, we're up live now. That there may be some money, a negligible amount of money that could be available for a budget. Other than that, every time we have a project, we'll need to cost it out and ask council to approve the budget for it. So those are the things that are on the agenda. Is there any like new business that anyone wants to talk about that we can't vote on? We briefly discussed the Al Galladuro thing. And the Jerry Jeff Walker, right? I mean, Doug Decker wants to do a statue and a bandstand, and the Chmielewskis probably are behind wanting to do the Al Galladuro statue and bandstand. I mean, maybe we should just start a statue park of all the famous Oneontans. You know, someone's making a movie about Paul Rubens.
Actually, that's what Al has been pitching to FOF, is to try and take. And he wanted to do this first one as a test case to see how the public would respond. And I've always, you know, my kids used to take lessons from Al Galladuro, and he'd come to my house and I'd sit there and play guitar with him, like for an hour after they were done. So I've always wanted to do a sculpture of Al Galladuro. So Al said, well, why don't you do this first one? I'll pay for it. And then we'll see how it goes over and whether FOF might be interested in, you know, funding the rest, a series of them.
Okay.
And Al probably, now that Chris Kuhn is leaving FOF, you know, Al's part on the board of FOF, and who knows, you know.
Right.
And I wind up sharing it, who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
That's their business, so I'd stay out of it. But I've been pricing out like resin casting too, because bronze is very expensive. And we were even thinking maybe it'd be fun to do a resin cast with some kind of functionality where you could like press a button and hear Al Galladuro music, but maybe even a little bit of his speaking from his documentary. You know, I've been thinking maybe it'd be fun to have like.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
You can? So what is this budget for this the statue, and what's it supposed to be made out of?
Well, Stephanie, like I wish that you would be doing it, but my husband wants to fund it if I'll do it. So I've just been researching it and trying to figure out what to use.
Well, you're gonna do any kind of metal, you're talking $20,000 isn't even gonna get you molds. I mean, you're not even gonna get, you're.
Right. I know bronze casting is really expensive. I've done a lot of
metal
casting myself. I could actually do the casting myself, but I don't like to work with it because it's so toxic. I used to make puppets out of fiberglass resin. So, and do a lot of mold making, rubber and plaster molds. So
this would be more or less a private commission that's outside of our purview if you're gonna get paid to do it by your husband, right?
Basically, in the hopes that if this one goes well, that FOF might step up and fund a series. So I'm a little leery of fighting it off, you know,
But this would be on public property?
yes, a donation.
So this would be a little bit weird, given that you're on the council, but I have no objections whatsoever to you doing this, but we better make sure that we, you know, people don't think that this is some kind of inside job.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be using any kind of public money or even grant money.
But we would all have to approve it because it's on it's on city property. It's not on your property. It's not on private property.
That's true. I mean, we haven't even thought of a location for it yet. I mean, Al would love it to be in Muller Plaza, but you know, I said to him, if the Jerry Jeff Walker bandstand is there, the obvious choice for that would be a Jerry Jeff Walker.
Just be prepared for some blowback, because if this is done privately with no public call, and then you do it, but yet we approve to do it on city land, there's some conflict of interest there.
Okay,
So
I'll be prepared.
this is, if it's gonna be on public property or city property, then it should probably go through the Arts Commission, but it also needs to be part of the master plan. I don't want us to be dropping statues in random places
Right.
when we could do it in a thematic manner. So even if it was like, you know, Carol doing the project, we should still go through the whole approval process.
Yes, I think so. I have no objection to Carol doing it, but we got to make sure we do it formally. And because somebody out there in the public, as we know, you do anything in public, there's going to be objections. They're going to say, you know, they all were friends of her and they allowed her to do it. I didn't have a chance to apply, and how dare they do that? I'm going to sue the city, and God knows what people are going to come out of the woodwork.
Right.
Well, should we have a meeting with Al or FOF or anything like that? I mean,
Absolutely. This needs to be done formally.
right.
Unless
So-
it's on private property. If you do it on private property, it's a private commission, then, you know, you're home free.
I would actually ask, maybe we can enter this into the record, is to ask the city attorney what the legalities would be if a public art commissioner were to accept a commission to do a piece of art that would land on city property. And we'll just get her, like, get the city to chime in, and then we'll just go by that.
Yeah.
Well, he has actually donated sculpture to the city before. He donated that tree with the birds inside, metal sculpture that's in that little park, the Dick Miller Park, as you drive onto exit 15.
Right, but you didn't make it, you were in
I
the
didn't
public
make
arts
it.
commission, that's what you're getting at.
There was no cronyism.
Right, yeah.
No, I don't wanna,
Okay,
If we get the lawyer's stamp of approval, then we're fine. When somebody starts screaming, we can just direct to the lawyer.
it just has to be a defensible action by the city.
Yeah, exactly.
So we could talk to, I'm gonna send an email to city attorney. But like I said, because we don't have a quorum and we can just discuss this stuff. I don't know, did you hear me talking about the Jerry Jeff Walker thing?
No.
Doug Decker, who's a local, he was on the radio for a long time, he's a local musician, and a friend of Jerry Jeff Walker and his wife, was approached by his wife a while ago, and in discussions with Jerry Jeff Walker, to do a statue in Oneonta or some sort of memorial, you know, whether it's a bandstand or a statue or both. And he's been able to do fundraising for it, and has a GoFundMe page and some donations where he can really start seriously considering it. Now, we discussed bronze casting, and I know it probably cost about like 30 grand
No, more like 100
Easily, yeah. Right.
at least, if you're doing a life-size figure, at least. And you have to build a, foundation for it. You've got to go underground. I mean, it's not just what you see above ground. So at least 100 grand, maybe more than that.
Okay,
Well, that's what Michael Stolzer quoted Al to do at Al Galadoro's.
what, like a 30 grand?
About 100 grand.
About 100 grand, yeah, okay.
The
So-
poster that I did, which is pretty small, actually, was $250,000, and that
Okay.
was almost 10 years ago.
Right. So, yeah, there are a lot of hurdles to hop over before we can even get to that point. But it's something we can discuss, and it's something we can discuss as an addition to the master plan. There's a host of Oneontans that people will want to memorialize in some form of art. So we should probably talk about in discussions with the whole body, talk about adding that to the master plan and where it would go and what it would look like.
If somebody wants to do bronze like that, you can always do a high relief plaque. That
Right.
would be a little cheaper. I don't know where this would go.
Well, we could do a walk of fame somewhere.
Yeah. But that would be just a lot more reasonable than a three-dimensional full figure. If money's an issue, unless he can find a good donor.
Right. I mean, maybe, and I said this as an aside to the group here, maybe we could do a walk of fame. We could do stars. Stars in the sidewalk.
Yeah. That'd be cheaper.
Yeah, it'd be a lot cheaper. And like someone's making a documentary about Paul Rubens, who lived here too. He's about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I think there's some other famous Oneontans too. Maybe that, we could use that as, a downtown draw.
If you know the Huntington family, I mean, we were
Right,
in
yeah.
California, and the Huntington.
For the Huntingtons, Fairchilds, Wilburs, yeah.
If you do a walk, you could also do like type carved into stone and placed as a plaque in the sidewalk or wherever with quotes from each person.
Right, yeah.
Something like that kind of brings more of that person's spirit. In some ways, I mean, a likeness is nice, but sort of to bring it into the community or while you're walking to see something every day.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Sometimes I feel as though when you put it in a bronze sculpture, it's sort of so there, but not within your experience as much.
Yeah, I know, I've been grappling with that too, I mean, thinking of how to have it be engaging to the public instead of just something standing there.
Something like
Al's
that, yeah.
original thing was that I'm sitting, playing on a bench,
Right.
but Al Galadoro never did that, he always stood up with a music stand. And of course, my corny brain is thinking he could, as being a musician as well, and playing a lot of gigs where some little kid comes up and just stands there
Yeah.
fascinated, thinking, oh, maybe he could be there, smiling and looking at his music stand, and a little kid could just be standing there, just like
To make something.
engaged,
Right.
as they do,
But we could do also like a QR code tour where you get the QR code when you get there and you get the music on your device.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, rather than
You
trying
would, rather than have to build
set up some
something.
sort of audio system around to,
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's true,
you have to maintain in perpetuity.
that's true,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
But we're,
Gary, with your excuse people, you do have a forum, so you can take action today.
Oh, we have a quorum? Okay. Oh, well, then we should, well,
Get to work.
there's nothing really to vote on,
Yeah.
so. Good.
sorry. So, to be clear, does Doug Decker have someone in mind to do the Jerry Jeff Walker sculpture? Because. of course-
No, he called me because of the Public Art Commission, and I had a conversation with him.
Yeah,
And then I brought him to community conversations, where Bob Rosowski and John Ramter's council member goes, and
right,
also Michael Stolzer was there, so we could talk about like statue stuff. So he made a little presentation there, And I assume he'll probably come here at some point to make a presentation as well on city council. But like I said, he's probably talked to like the previous 3 mayors about this subject, trying to get some traction. And I think he was finally getting traction with the previous mayor, but the previous mayor is out of office now, so he feels like he's gonna start all over. But he does have a little bank account for this project. And, you know, he's got backing from the family.
Right.
And then I think as, you know, Mayor Hersey was leaving, he said, there's, you know, $230,000 budgeted for a bandstand in Newa Park. You know, so
How much?
I think they said $230,000.
I was just Jim Bridger. I know, I was just at a timber frame home built by Jim Bridger, the guy who did the pavilion at the Sail Club. And he said he could put up like a 20 by 20 foot timber frame for $12,000.
Don't lowball it. Well, I think the city got this, the city got a bunch of money.
Hire Stephanie and they have her roommate going for
Right.
the whole,
But I-
Cherry Jeff Walker.
I think the city got money from the Recovery Act. And the money they got, they're
Yeah.
putting towards outdoor spaces.
Yeah.
So I think that I just saw the $230,000 number in the paper. I think it was this week or last week. I don't know how solid it is, you know, it's, you know, things that are in the paper and don't necessarily reflect reality.
Yeah. And I'm not very professional, but I
Right.
just think Stephanie's work.
Right, no, they could put up, I mean,
So-
what kind of bandstand are they gonna put up? They're gonna put like a big clamshell like you see in Central Park, or
Wouldn't be
a gazebo.
there.
was that?
But does that include the Neola Park bandstand and the Muller Plaza bandstand?
I don't know. I think it's just for a bandstand in Neola Park, but I think that, you know, we can go to council and ask.
Bandstand in Neola Park.
Right. And again, I don't know if that's a concrete amphitheater or a really fancy gazebo.
Right,
But I think that, like, you know, they're gonna have Shakespeare in the Park this summer.
so that would mean big bandstands.
So, yeah, I don't, you know, maybe that's the opening salvo of getting, you know, performance arts in music in Newa Park in a permanent place.
Okay, I thought you meant that was for Muller Park.
Oh,
That's
God,
why
that's a
I was-
lot of money.
That's
No.
way too much
No.
money for a bandstand.
Right, but some of the Recovery Act money they got, I think, you know, they're putting towards like improvements in outdoor spaces
Yeah,
because people, you know, need to get outside. Do
oh
stuff.
yeah, well, Neola Park, we got our electric in, so.
Yeah.
So glad about that.
Okay. So we did new business. Any other new business? Nope, hearing none. We'll go to additional business, which is different from new business. Somehow.
Yeah, well, our art and poetry contest is opening on April 28th. We're not having our Kano opening because Fenimore could only give us that date.
Right.
And so it was really, really sad, but we do have some good poets. And
Okay.
I'm just wondering whether there's been poet laureate procedure.
Actually, that was brought up by Councilmember Lepari Shu about having a city poet laureate. And I think at the time she brought it up, like, we were just gonna like ruminate on it for a bit, but if you have a suggestion.
Well, would we have nominations or, you know?
I've never done anything like that, so I don't know. I would assume so, yeah. I mean, if people were to recommend like 2 or 3 or 4 poet laureate candidates to choose from,
Yeah.
then I guess we would vote on it and forward that to council to approve.
What is this for, Jim?
Poet laureate,
Oh,
For the
poet laureate, right.
yeah.
It would have to be someone that lives in the city of Amiana.
Like Bob Benson lives like just over the city line. He's in the town of Oneonta.
Right.
Yeah, there's some incredible poets around here.
Would we put out like an open call for nominations, like a public open call?
Maybe that would be the way to do it, as part of a
Because-
survey.
Yeah,
I could think of different people that would be interested in nominating, but we just have to set up the parameters of what would constitute somebody who's coming on this.
I mean,
Would you two, actually, Carol and Catherine, like to work on that together?
yeah, sure.
That'd be
I would
great.
love to.
I'd be
Um,
very interested in that.
Yeah,
Look at what other cities have for a poet laureate, and how they got one.
yeah.
And we could start that way. I mean, everything we're doing right now is building the infrastructure for the future, so it may take a bit of work, but, you know, we could do a one-year poet laureate every year.
And I remember we threw around some different ideas of how to sort of put it out there, where we were talking about putting poems in windows of storefronts, or somehow projecting lights or something, you know, that,
Right,
to make it visible as well as.
Well, you know,
So are we gonna require like they, you know, published a book of poetry or stuff like, you're gonna look at the other parameters?
I don't know that we will require that, but I mean, the one requirement we could have is they live in the city of Oneonta. And
I
if they.
think Be published. I think they have to be published. That gives it legitimacy.
Well, self-published or real published?
Real published. You're talking to a professor here, so.
I know, that's why I asked that question.
yeah, but there's so many wonderful poets that are. I mean, yeah, most of them have been published if they've. I just know because at one point we had 350 poets enter our poetry contest from all over, actually the world. And most of the winners have been published in one.
Well, that way you have, you know, they've already been vetted by peers, by people who know poetry, unless you guys are poetry experts. That way you let the people who have published them do the vetting already. So, and then you can pick from a pool of, you know, we can pick from a pool of people who are published, and I guess we would have to like sort of look at the quality of publications to make the evaluation, unless of course we're all, you know, poetry experts, because otherwise how are we going to pick?
Right. We'll research it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll find out how other cities have done it.
Yeah, there must be guidelines all over the place for that, so.
That'd be interesting.
You know, unless we get some of the poets from the two colleges and we have them as our judges.
Yeah, I've done that before for our poetry contest too.
Okay, so you guys will do a little research and,
Yeah, we'll connect by email and we can,
Yeah.
if we need to exchange phone numbers, we can.
Sounds good.
Good. Okay.
okay, is there any other additional business?
Can't think of it.
Don't think so.
No? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning? Raise your hand and wave at the camera. That means you, Stephanie?
I approve.
Okay, great, thank you. Adjourned at 6:44.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks, bye.
Wait, I have a question. If I go to the next one, can everybody wear a mask? Or should I email everyone?
Email everybody,
Okay,
people who aren't here.
I
all right, I'll
brought,
do it.
Right, I keep them in my pocket now.
Just
And that'd be so much
in case.
easier.
Excellent
Okay,
protection.
yeah, all right, cool.
Thanks.
And then we don't have to deal with technology.
So sent a message to Carrie that we're done, so when she gets this,
Oh, she's
she'll
gonna shut it off,
disconnect.
okay.
That's why we lost all our viewing here.
Gotcha. I'll slink out of here, I'll do the camera.
Actually, if you can tell when it's.
Oh, I just shut it off. One second. I'll get it back up.
Is Stephanie gone?
No, we're still going.
I don't know that I can do it on this end, 'cause
Now there's a 20-second delay.
We're good? Okay.
Yes, I'm just trying to get it off live so people know. I'm not quite sure.